Today's video is brought to you by Manscaped. Stick around to learn more about their awesome products coming up. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is here, and that means a new world for players to explore. The developers are throwing out the rulebook with this one, and that, my friends, is why we're back in your feeds. Hey there, it's Codiak here. Welcome to Legacy Gaming. Today, we're diving into Gearbox's new fantasy looter shooter and sharing everything we wish we knew sooner about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Now, of course, before we dive into the tips and tricks, I want to make it abundantly clear there will be no major story spoilers in this video. Everything we're going to talk about focuses on the gameplay and making sure you have all the tools to go toe-to-toe with the Dragon Lord. Lucky dice are everywhere in Wonderlands, and they're not just a quick way to get some free loot. No, smashing these glowing polyhedrons also increases your overall luck. You can view your total luck on the skills menu, and you'll see clear as day that glowing dice have an impact on your overall chances at getting shiny new loot. Lucky dice are everywhere, and each map has a different number to track down, but for the most part they're always tucked away under something or hidden just out of sight, but they're always worth hunting down if your ultimate goal is getting the best loot the game has to offer. If you're a veteran of Gearbox games, you already know that different gun manufacturers bring different things to the table. In the case of Wonderlands, the same is true, and if you're not paying attention, it's pretty easy to miss the alternate fire modes. Some guns keep it simple, either fully automatic or burst fire, while other guns change dramatically. For instance, you could have a gun that functions like a pistol or zip rockets. Stoker guns are the most dynamic when it comes to variety, but other manufacturers can also have alternate fire modes, so keep an eye in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen when picking up a new gun so you don't miss out. So I straight up didn't know this tip until 3/4 of the way through the game. As you might know, melee combat is a bigger factor in Wonderlands than any other previous Gearbox game. Well, you can attack with your melee weapon, that's all well and good, but you can also use a jumping slam attack that staggers enemies in an AoE around your character. Seriously, I had no idea. To execute this, simply jump and then hit your crouch button. This will trigger a new animation and you'll bring your melee weapon down with a resounding thud. It is possible to trigger this from the ground, but it's much more enjoyable if you get yourself a little hang time, jumping off an item or a ledge. It's a great way to clear a little space around you so you can reposition or just escape enemies that are getting too close. If melee combat is something you're interested in, you'll be happy to learn that unlike in previous Gearbox games, you can go full auto melee in Wonderlands. By holding down the melee button, you can keep on swinging until the cows come home. This is going to play right into those melee-centric builds if that's something you want to explore, and it's a great quality of life tip that many Borderlands vets will appreciate. Sometimes the chaos of a firefight can be a lot, and in that regard, it's often hard to keep track of where you are in an encounter area. Gearbox puts a lot in their encounter spaces, including items that could trip you up. They also make great use of vertical environments. When things are getting hectic and you need a place to run and hide, look out for yellow-painted Mantle Points. These are areas around the map the developers have identified that will allow you to mantle up easily. They're not the only points where mantling is possible, but they're the easiest to spot when the bullets are flying. Today's video is brought to you by Manscaped. Look guys, we've seen the comments. I know I gotta start cleaning up better. I've been stuck inside for far too long, and it's time to get back out there. That's why we're partnering up with Manscaped. I'm pumped about this sponsorship because these guys are leading the way when it comes to men's hygiene. They sent me their Performance Package 4.0, and let me tell you, this thing is changing the game. You've got the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This thing feels good in the hand, cuts the hairs nice and clean, and it's small but mighty. You can also throw this thing in a bag and boom, you've got your trimmer wherever you need it. You also get the Weed Whacker, which is great for cleaning up in the nose and around the ear. Guys, do yourself a favor, use the code LEGACY20 to save 20% off at manscaped.com. Pick yourself up some trimmers, some deodorant, shampoo, no matter what you're looking for, check out Manscaped and get the right tool for the right job. My favorite thing about games is when developers actively hide secrets for players to discover. In the case of Wonderlands, I'm talking about Rune puzzles and Obelisks. These are two activities you can stumble upon in the world, and they're often the conduit for some pretty awesome loot. Rune puzzles are relatively straightforward. You trigger the main puzzle, then go off and find the 3 beacons that complete the puzzle. These aren't like 2 feet away either, they're out there, so it's definitely a challenge. Find all the beacons, and on the 3rd one, claim your rewards. Another fun activity are the ancient obelisks, and here again, these are hidden around each of the maps. When activated, these set off a horde mode style encounter where you'll have to keep killing enemies until the obelisk breaks open, revealing a boss. This is a great one-off activity that lets you get some quick loot and a chaotic event that really highlights the over-the-top nature of Wonderlands. Both activities are ones you should absolutely not pass up, so keep your eyes open and be on the lookout for these hidden gems. Another thing I'm ashamed to admit I didn't realize until way too late into the game are the healing barrels that are often around each encounter area. These look like any other trap within the world, but have a very visible red heart on them. If you're about to die and smash one of these, they'll heal you up to full and give you a second chance at stemming the tide of baddies in your way. Be warned that fire barrels and heart barrels do look kinda similar, so make sure you're triggering the right effect before destroying the trap. The overworld is a bit of a new concept in the Borderlands universe, and in Wonderlands, you'll find yourself constantly navigating across this board game type map. While moving around, you'll often have to navigate through patches of tall grass, and just like a Pokemon game, there's always the chance of running into a random encounter. If you do get caught by whatever enemy pops up, you'll be teleported into a small arena for an encounter, but you can actually use your melee while in the overworld and avoid the encounter entirely. To be honest, I always tried to avoid these fights as they were more of a nuisance than anything else, and the rewards weren't great. One of the most important aspects of the overworld are the various shrines that accompany each area of the game board. To complete a shrine, you need to find 4 shrine pieces. Some of these are hidden behind environmental objects, while others can be found behind dungeon doors. Getting the 4 pieces to complete a shrine activates a buff that persists for the rest of the game, so they're worth hunting down. The game doesn't come outright and tell you where to find each piece off the bat, but realize that each zone has its own shrine and those shrine pieces are always found within that zone. To check what buffs are active and what each shrine does, head to the menus and tab over to the journal section and click on the shrine icon. Another thing to look out for while traversing the overworld are poetry pages. These have a bit of a shiny component to them, so keep a watchful eye. Picking one up will reward you with some quick gold, which is never a bad thing. Keep in mind that to reach some of the secrets on the overworld map, you'll need to progress along the main story or complete some side quests. So if you can't come up with a logical solution to reach a certain secret, you're probably gated by some sort of progression elsewhere. One of my absolute favorite things to do in Wonderlands is send a torrent of bullets and spells careening towards the enemy. I didn't realize until a little ways through that you could actually do both at the same time. If you choose to hip-fire your weapon, you can also cast spells simultaneously. I'll be honest, this is when the game is at its absolute best. The colorful spells mixed with the cacophony of bullets just makes moving around and killing goblins and imps that much better. I should point out that you can't reload your gun when you're actively casting spells, so you'll need to stop to fill back up. The same can be said on the flip side of things. You can't use spells while you're aiming down the sight. What you lack in accuracy by firing from the hip, you more than make up in firepower, so give it a whirl and enjoy the chaos. If you're a Borderlands vet, then this next tip won't be that groundbreaking, but for the casual players among us, I think it's worth pointing out. Throughout your time in Wonderlands, you'll need to remember to buy new storage deck upgrades. These can be purchased at the blacksmith back in Bright-Hook, and they're pretty essential to the gameplay experience. SDUs increase the total number of ammunition you can hold on a certain type of gun. There are also SDUs that increase how many items you can hold in your inventory, as well as items you can store in your bank or the lost loot system within the game. Don't forget to upgrade this early and often, or you'll end up like I did fighting the last boss with just a handful of bullets, a spell, and a whole lot of frustration. In the same vein, you'll need to remember about the lost loot feature. Once again, you'll need to head back to Bright-Hook to find this contraption, and a quick look at the front display panel will tell you if there are any lost loot items there to recover. This is a system that's carried over from the Borderlands games, but in case you're new, let me just quickly break it down. While adventuring, there's a good chance you'll miss a piece of rare or better gear that drops. The lost loot feature will save that piece of loot and store it in this closet thing until you come and activate the system. There is a set limit to how many items the lost loot can store, but you can upgrade this with the SDU system, so make a habit of traveling back here every now and again. Check and see if there are any new shinies waiting to be snatched up. Taking a page out of FromSoft's playbook, Wonderlands introduces players to the Mimic, and yes, they're exactly what you think they are. While looting chests, there's a random chance that mimics will spawn. I'll admit the first time this happened, I nearly fell out of my chair because I honestly wasn't ready for it. Killing a mimic nets you some pretty sweet loot as well as gold, which is a fair price to pay for a little jump scare. If you are trying to suck up every drop of loot there is to be had, make sure to stop and open every single chest. You never know when a mimic may be lurking inside. It's pretty hilarious missing something right in front of your face, but that's the case with the world map. In fact, I had no idea this was a thing until after I beat the campaign, and honestly, I would have cut down on about 30 minutes of running across the overworld if I had known. While in your map menu, you can toggle the world map which will pull you all the way out to see the entire Wonderlands board. From here, you can fast travel to the various zones around the game. Hopefully this tip saves you some time, because if you're like me, you'll end up running around the entire overworld, and while that's not a big deal, shortcuts are always nice, especially when bouncing from one side of the map to the other. So if you're coming from any other RPG, you might be wondering, how do I respec? Is that even a thing in Wonderlands? The answer is yes, but you have to beat the game first. This is a huge bummer, as it's almost impossible to build your character right without getting to explore all of the different talents. This is doubly true when picking your secondary class. You may have started with a Berserker, then picked up a Spore Warden and realized the two really don't work well together. Well, tough luck, because you can't change anything until after you beat the main campaign. The tip here is quite simple. Be absolutely certain about your class-based decisions before locking them in, because there's no going back before you reach the end of the game. It's a bit of a letdown, but hopefully now, armed with the knowledge, you won't make an absolutely atrocious story build like yours truly. If you're curious like I was, you might have run across these funny-looking objects during your run in the Chaos Chamber. These are actually small lootable portals that, when opened, will drop a handful of crystals. To unlock the portal, you need to find the colored skull nearby. These are often hidden out of direct line of sight, but once you get comfortable looking for them, they become easy enough to hunt down. Most levels have 2 of these portals, which is great because all the extra crystals means more shiny loot at the end. And there you have it, everything we wish we knew sooner about Gearbox's looter-shooter Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. If this is your first time checking out our channel, welcome. We've got a number of Wonderlands videos planned, so be sure to keep it right here if you're looking for more chaotic greatness in your feeds. We also invite you to join us on Discord. We've got a great community of over 20,000 members with a special section dedicated just to Wonderlands, so if you're looking to join, check out the link below. If you did enjoy this video, you already know what you need to do. Hit the like button and consider subscribing. Wish I Knew Sooner is one of our biggest series here on the channel, and it takes dozens of hours to put together, so if you appreciate our work, we'd appreciate your support. Finally, if you want to help us out even more, you can do so by becoming a member. For just a few bucks, you're helping Livid and I achieve our dreams of becoming full-time content creators. Check out the join button below to learn more. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.